Hello, I'm Averhoff. I'm a part of the chat system team. And today I'll be showcasing user story 2749 typing indicator. The team members of this project are Mark Cameron, myself, and Trick Human. The product owner is Masoud Sadjadi, and the mentor is also Masoud Sadjadi. So if we go to Mingle, this is the card typing indicator. The description is, as a user, I would like to know whether the other user is typing a message or not, so I know that the user is typing, preparing a reply. The acceptance criteria is that if a user continually types, they should display a message saying client agent name is typing. And if the user stops typing, it should stop displaying a notification to the other agent. So once again, I'm going to go through the feature document to explain everything. So here's a card. So the first things first is the use case diagram. So here we're working with the desktop and in the Breeze chat, and now we have both the client and agent. Once they both open up the chat box, we will either display a typing indicator or we will remove it. And both of these two use cases make use of the Breeze chat. And that's pretty much what how everything works. So for this user story, so I have two use cases: displaying typing message. So if the user is typing on the chat box input field, they just display a message to the agent's chat box, and once the client stops typing, the typing message should not be displayed in the agent's chat box. So here we have a sequence diagram. So we have two sequences: the chat box to the server, and then from the agent side, the chat box to the server as well. So here we have for both the client agents, pretty much the same sequence of events, and they both have an alternative sequence of events. So let's say, for example, if the agent starts typing, and well, let me zoom in a little bit. If the agent starts typing and the amount of seconds that has passed is less than 500 milliseconds, then we'll continually push to the server that he is typing. That's why we say here typing is true. And then we will update the user's list with everyone who has typed so far. In this case, the only one that has been typing is the client, and it will display a typing message to the agent. If 500 milliseconds if 500 milliseconds has passed, then we will send to the server typing is false to indicate that the agent has stopped typing. We would send an updated list again, and we would remove the typing message from the agent's chat box. Likewise, the same thing is with the agent. If the agent starts typing, if less than 500 milliseconds has passed, we will push the server that typing is true, update the list, and display typing message. So again, same sequence of events. So now we go to class diagram. We just make use of the chat box with the Phoenix presence in the chat server. So we have things like the presence, which keeps track of all the users that have typed so far. This is the users list, the current users list. This is the delay, the 500 milliseconds that I was talking about. And these are the events. So this event is once a user has joined, and the present diff is each time gets called when the person is typing. And there's the function that gets called and checks whether or not to send a typing false or typing is true. And the track and update, that's what the Phoenix browser used to keep track of users typing. And of course, my unit tests, displaying typing message. Once they're connected to a private chat, if they start typing, they should display a message to the agent's chat box. And likewise, if the client has stopped typing and they're connected to the private chat, it should remove the typing message. And both of them have passed successfully. And here's a nice little visual of how it looks. It's very difficult to see, but you can see that they both have a typing message. One is for testbot 1, and the other one's for testbot 2. These are both typing at the same time, which is actually kind of difficult to get them to both type at the same time, because sometimes, since it's only 500 milliseconds, it's pretty fast. So that was nice to get. Okay, so that's the feature document. So let's go over to the development environment. All right, so let's go over. This is the typing test that I'll showcase later. So what code do I want to showcase? Okay, so let's go to, obviously we have to go to the chat server first. Go to web, go to private chat. So we have this presence.exe. This is a module that comes built in with Phoenix that handles the tracking of users typing. So this is not something I created. I created something that came with Phoenix, and that was added to the project. So what was really added was this function right here, that handle info. So this function gets called every time we join the channel, and we say once we join, obviously the person has just joined and their typing has to be false, and we keep track of other things like their user ID, so we know which user we're talking about, as well as their username, so just so we can display their the actual username back to the other person. And so this is just when we join, but how about if we're constantly typing back and forth? Well, to handle that, we have a handle-in function called user typing, and we would send whatever value, like true or false, to this function, and then we will tell Phoenix to update this user list and send it back. And that's pretty much on the chat backend. Not much else was added to it. So now we're gonna go to the front end, and well, the easiest one to talk to is I did a little bit styling to the chatbox.ss by adding this right here, and all of this is just to ensure that no matter how if the screen resizes, it will always be centered a little bit above the message input field. And I had to change the height of the message container, because if not, when you scroll, it would appear to the message indicator would appear to be inside the message box. So I had to do something like have it set to 67%, so it would, when you scroll through the chat box, it will always be above the message input field, but never be inside the chat box, the message box. So that's the styling. Views, if we go to the chat box, all that was added was this right here, this little div, and we iterate through all the current users list that gets sent back from Phoenix, and we have an ng show that says if the current user is typing and the current user ID is not equal to the user ID, then we display a typing message. Current username is typing. So this will say if client 1 is typing, then this should go to agent 2. It shouldn't appear on both client 1 and agent 2's chat box, because client 1's the one that's typing and agent 2 is not the one that's typing. Okay, so that's the view side. So now the script side. The only one we have to really look at is the chatbox.js. So matching up to what my class diagram looks like, this is the scope presence that we have. This is the typing delay that we have. This is the scope presence that we have, and this is the scope current users list. And these are our two events: the present state and the present div. So each time this only gets called once. So once the user has joined the channel, and this will get called each time they type. So each time they type, we will get back a list from Phoenix. We will iterate through it, and then we will update our current users list with any new user information by indexing to the user ID object. And then we have our main function, which gets called every time the user starts typing. And so what we're using is a timeout, and the timeout is every 500 milliseconds. So if this execute, if 500 milliseconds has passed, whatever is inside this timeout would get executed. If not, we will cancel it, and we will create this timeout again, and we will wait for another 500 milliseconds. And this will get called continually each time they start typing. And that is about it. So now I guess I can showcase it to you. So right here, I already have one ready to go. It's a little bit lagging, give it some time. Okay, so this is a client, and hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, to the left is a client, to the right is an agent. So if I start typing, and also like notice it has feature, it has autocomplete. That's what a little bit recently. So notice it starts typing, goes away, and notice how I said test bot 2, because this guy is test bot 2. And if I go, oh, yeah, that was in the way. It's test bot 1. And notice if I start typing and if I scroll, it moves seamlessly. It doesn't appear inside the chat button, I mean the message box. And if I stop typing, it goes away. And I also make sure that if I, let's say, zoom in, it should also appear, see, it appears exactly in the exact same place that it was. So the CS is working properly, and that's all I wanted to show. So out here, and let me just showcase the test that I have. So this is the test that I made. So to go through it, we have two tests. Test 1 is checks that once the client and agent types, it should say this message here: assert testbot is typing, assert testbot 2 is typing. That's what the test number 1 is. And testbot 2 is that once both client and agent has logged in, opened up the chat box, and they typed, after waiting about, for let's say 2 seconds, I could have waited for 1 second. That if I pull the current users list, both should be empty. There shouldn't be any message. Alright, so now I'm going to be showcasing the test, showing that it works properly. So now the client has logged in and has opened the chat button. Now we're going to wait for the agent. So I'm going to log in, same as the client. Chat button appears, they start typing. Everything passes accepted. So now we're going to do test number 2. This one is when they start typing, they wait 2 seconds or so, and we check if there's no typing message. So same idea. You log in, you open the chat button. That's the client side. Now I'm waiting for the agent side. It takes a little while. Agent's going to log in now. There you go. You start typing. You wait a little while. Verify that there's no typing message. And everything ran okay. So as you can see, everything's running perfectly. That's their test. So if you have any questions to me or my teammates, here are our contacts. If you have any questions for Sadjadi about BreazeHome, here's his contact. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.